It's what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
At the Africa Development Study Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing, and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, and monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Study Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Egypt is a living museum where the past and present come together in a remarkable dance, and it is more than simply a nation. Egypt, which is well known around the world for its pyramids, pharaohs, and the magnificent Nile, is still transforming its rich historical legacy into a vital source of economic expansion and pride in the country. Egypt is a vibrant African country that is leveraging its historical heritage, tourism, the Suez Canal, agriculture, and a growing digital economy to drive its future. Let's start with tourism, which continues to be Egypt's most valuable economic driver. Egypt is home to more than 1/3 of the world's antiquities, and Cairo, Luxor, Aswan, and Alexandria welcome millions of visitors each year. Beyond its aesthetic value, the Great Pyramids of Giza, the Valley of Kings, and the soon-to-open Grand Egyptian Museum serve as economic hubs that support employment, foreign exchange, and Egypt's place on the world cultural map. Egypt has recovered quickly despite international disturbances like the COVID-19 epidemic, with current tourism receipts surpassing $13 billion. However, as visitors all at history, international trade passes via Egypt's Suez Canal, one of the most important sea lanes in the world. The canal is a vital bypass for international commerce, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea across a distance of 193 kilometers. Suez Canal tolls brings in billions of dollars for Egypt each year, more than $9 billion in 2023 alone, making the canal more than simply a historical site. It is a vital component of international trade. The Suez Canal Economic Zone, a center for commerce, logistics, and industry, was likewise fueled by the canal. Agriculture comes next, especially near the Nile. Important products including wheat, rice, cotton, and dates are grown in the lush Nile Valley and Delta. Citrus fruits, particularly oranges, which are highly sought after in Europe and the Middle East, are among Egypt's biggest exports worldwide. Innovations in irrigation and climate-smart farming are growing, and agriculture still contributes to national food security and rural lives. Infrastructure and energy are also changing quickly. By exporting liquefied natural gas to Europe and other countries, Egypt has established itself as a new energy center in Africa and the Mediterranean. This change includes the Zohr gas field, one of the biggest in the Mediterranean. In addition, Egypt is developing smart cities, high-speed rail, and new administrative capitals, while investing in solar energy through initiatives like the Bendon Solar Park, Africa's largest. Not to be overlooked is Egypt's creative economy. The film industry in Cairo is sometimes referred to as the Hollywood of the Arab world, and pop culture in North Africa and the Middle East has long been influenced by the Egyptian literature, music, and television. Young Egyptian creatives are already establishing new industries such as tech companies and fashion. Thanks to the growth of social media and digital storytelling, Egypt has geopolitical weight due to the advantageous location at the intersection of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Its position as a continental power is further supported by its participation in peacekeeping missions, commercial agreements such as COMESCA and the African Continental Free Commercial Area AFCFTA, and regional diplomacy. However, the way Egypt skillfully combines innovation with tradition is what really makes it stand out. It is one of the few African countries where a more than 5,000-year-old civilization still shapes its economy and reputation outside. Egypt continues to leverage its history to forge a strong and aspirational future, whether it's a software entrepreneur in Cairo, a relic in a museum, or a ship across the Suez. This is Just Africa, and I am Chike Okolo.
In an age of artificial intelligence and automation, it is easy to overlook the value of hands. Yet in Ghana, hands still build nations. From Adinkra cloth printers in Ntoso to traditional kente weavers in Bonwire, Ghana's indigenous skill economy continues to prove that African creativity is not just cultural, it is commercial. Looking beyond the surface of heritage to the engine room of informal training systems that have powered generations and could power Africa's industrial future, Ghana comes to mind. In Ghana, apprenticeship is not a fallback. It is the main highway for millions of young people who are learning practical trades like metalwork, leatherwork, carpentry, fabric dyeing, and advanced tailoring. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, more than 80% of artisans are trained informally, yet they contribute significantly to the GDP. This is not unique to Ghana. From the woodcarvers of Kenya to the bronze casters of Nigeria, Africa is a continent of craftspeople. But Ghana offers a model where traditional skill acquisition meets modern enterprise development. Institutions like the Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, COTVET, have begun integrating indigenous knowledge into formal systems, developing a dual-track model that combines age-old methods with certification, mentorship, and business incubation. As Africa looks for solutions to youth unemployment, the answer may not lie in importing Western education models, but in elevating what we already have. Imagine if every African country invested in formalizing informal skills, adding value chains, technology, and access to export markets. The challenge, as always, is perception. We must stop seeing artisanship as inferior. Ghana is showing that welding can build wealth and textile design can drive trade. The African hand is skilled. The African mind is gifted. What remains is for policy and investment to catch up with potential. In Ghana's apprentices, they don't just see workers, they see a future workforce Africa can proudly call its own. I'm Moyosore Adebi for SOUQ News TV. Lesotho, a country like no other on the African continent, and in fact, like no other in the world. Nestled entirely within the borders of South Africa, Lesotho holds a unique geographical distinction. It is the only independent nation on Earth located entirely above 1,000 meters in elevation. Its lowest point, at 1,400 meters above sea level, is higher than the highest points in countries like Netherlands, Denmark, or even the United Kingdom. This extraordinary altitude earns Lesotho its nickname, the Kingdom in the Sky. Lesotho is one of just 3 countries in the world that are completely surrounded by one other country, the others being San Marino and Vatican City in Italy. But unlike them, Lesotho is not a microstate. It boasts a proud population, a strong cultural identity, and a landscape marked by rugged mountains, deep valleys, and fast-flowing rivers. What also makes Lesotho stand out in Africa is its climate. While much of the continent is known for its warmth, Lesotho regularly experiences snowfall, especially in its highland region.
Hello and welcome to the World News on SOUQ News Television, reaching you live from our studios in Lagos. Let's begin with today's top stories. The Central Bank of Nigeria realized 15.2 trillion naira from bi-weekly treasury bill sales conducted through primary market auctions in 2025. IPMAN admonishes petrol dealers receiving direct supplies from the Dangote refinery to sell fuel at 739 naira per litre. Egypt and Syria signs memorandum of understanding, deepens energy cooperation on gas supplies for electricity generation. Tumbled Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro appears in Manhattan Federal Court, pleaded not guilty to narcotics trafficking. And in sport news, Nigeria cruised into the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals with a commanding 14-0 win over Mozambique. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, realized 15.2 trillion naira from bi-weekly treasury bill sales conducted through primary market auctions in 2025, supporting government short-term borrowings and liquidity management, according to data from Meristem Securities Limited. Out of the total, only 1.50 trillion naira represented fresh borrowings, while the bulk of the use was to refinance treasury bills that matured within the year. Analysts note that highlight the CBN's continued reliance on the rollover operations rather than aggressive new debt issuance to manage liquidity pressures. The figure marks the lowest net treasury bills inflows in 3 years. In 2024, the Apex Bank recorded a net inflow of 5.85 trillion naira after refinancing matured bills from a total allotment of 13.4 trillion naira, underscoring a moderation in borrowing activity amid tighter monetary conditions. Nigeria's telecommunications regulator says it will take a tougher stance on consumer protection in 2026, responding to persistent service disruptions and network congestions that continue to frustrate subscribers nationwide. The Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, said that despite a rebound in investment and rapid infrastructure expansion in 2025, service quality improvements have not been felt consistently by consumers across the country. The regulator acknowledged growing complaints over dropped calls, slow data speeds, and network outages. In its New Year address, the NCC said telecoms operators deployed more than 2,800 new and upgraded network sites during the year, helping to push broadband penetration past the 50% mark for the first time. Broadband subscriptions rose to about 109.6 million by December from 96.3 million a year earlier. Broadband penetration climbed to 50.58%, up from 44.43% at the end of 2024, reflecting stronger capital spending, but highlighting a widening gap between network growth and user experience. Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has urged petrol dealers receiving direct supplies from the Dangote Petroleum Refinery to sell fuel at 739 naira per litre. The appeal was made as part of efforts to ensure price uniformity and pass logistic savings to consumer amid persistent concerns over palm price nationwide. IPMAN National President Abubakar Magandi said markets benefiting from free delivery by the Dangote trucks should adhere strictly to the refinery's recommended price. He stressed that independent marketers must reflect reduced transportation costs, warning that higher prices would undermine public trust. The Dangote Refinery has invested in about 4,000 compressed natural gas-powered tankers to deliver petrol directly to partner stations at no cost. The initiative is designed to stabilize retail pricing, reduce distribution bottlenecks, and support broader reforms in Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector. IPMAN believes compliance will ease pressure on motorists and reinforce competitive pricing nationwide during peak travel season. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has dismissed reports claiming it was shutting down for maintenance, insisting it's operating at full capacity and supplying over 50 million litres of petrol daily to the Nigerian market. The refinery described the report as false and misleading. In a statement issued on Monday, the management said the claims were deliberately promoted to cause panic in the downstream petroleum sector. It stressed that production at 650,000 barrels per day, Lagos-based facility remains stable and uninterrupted. The refinery reaffirmed its commitment to supporting fuel supply stability, especially amid recent palm price volatility across the country. It said its continued operations are critical to reducing supply disruption, easing distribution pressures, and strengthening confidence in Nigeria's domestic refinery capacity as reforms in the oil sector continue. The federal government has unveiled a comprehensive set of measures aimed at eliminating examination malpractice in WAEC and NECO examinations from 2026 examination cycle. The announcement was made in a press release issued on January 5, 2026 by the Federal Ministry of Education. The statement, signed by the Director of Press and Public Relations, Boriowo Folashade, said the reforms are designed to strengthen transparency, tighten supervision, and restore credibility to Nigeria's public examination system. Authorities did not disclose full operational details, but said enforcement will be stricter nationwide. The government said the decision follows years of concern over widespread malpractice and declining public confidence in national assessment. Officials stressed that the new framework reflects a broader effort to protect the integrity of the certificate issued by WAEC and NECO, while ensuring fairness for candidates and safeguarding Nigeria's education standards. Household consumptions in Nigeria fell sharply in real terms in 2024 as rising prices severely weakened the purchasing power of millions of families, according to provisional data from the Central Bank of Nigeria's latest statistical bulletin. The figures point to a deeper squeeze on living standards despite headline economic activity. Data on gross domestic product by expenditure show that household final consumption at constant 2010 prices dropped to 31.12 trillion naira in 2024 from 45.41 trillion naira in 2023. That represents a real contraction of about 14.29 trillion naira, or roughly 31% year-on-year, marking one of the steepest declines in recent years. Constant price strip out inflation effect, the fall signals an actual reduction in the volume of goods and services households consumed. Economists say the collapse indicates families are cutting back materially on essentials and discretionary spendings alike, highlighting the social impact of sustained inflationary pressure across the economy. Transgig Enerco Limited has acquired a 60% controlling stake at the Eco Electricity Distribution Company in transaction valued at about 360 billion naira following the completion of a share purchase agreement. Now, the deal finalized on December 30, 2025 was earlier projected to close in April 2025. According to sources familiar with the matter, the acquisition is regarded as one of the largest privately negotiated takeovers in Nigeria's power distribution sector since 2013 privatization exercise. Now, industry analysts say the transaction could reshape the governance, capital structure, and operational priorities at EcoDisco, which serves Nigeria's commercial capital and the surrounding areas. Sources said Transgate and NERCO paid an initial 180 billion naira in cash, with the remaining 180 billion naira secured through bank guarantees to assure deferred settlement for the sellers. The cash payment was made in two tranches comprising 150 billion naira earlier in the week of the closure and 30 billion naira paid on December 30. Still to come in the news, Chinese toy maker Pop Mart has broadened its manufacturing footprint to Mexico, Cambodia, and Indonesia to meet growing global demands. More details after this break. Stay tuned.
Housing infrastructure as a driver of economic growth. In virtually every nation, the discourse on economic growth often revolves around output, foreign investment, technology, and human capital development. Yet, one element that remains underexplored but profoundly fundamental is housing infrastructure. Housing is more than shelter. It is an economic commodity, a social stabilizer, and a catalyst for development. From job creation to stimulating demand in allied industries, and from serving as collateral for wealth creation to enabling urban renewal, housing infrastructure stands at the heart of sustainable economic advancement. At the core of modern economies, housing represents both a consumption good and an investment asset. For households, it is often the most valuable property they own. For governments, housing development is a visible marker of social responsibility, while for economies, it serves as a growth engine with multiplier effects across sectors. According to Bayo Olaoye, veteran journalist with SOUQ News Television, well-planned housing infrastructure is not just about erecting buildings. When integrated with urban planning, it prevents slum expansion, enhances livability, and boosts productivity. World Bank estimates show that the real estate and construction sector contributes between 7% and 14% of global GDP, depending on the region. In advanced economies, such as United States, housing-related activities, construction, real estate, mortgage finance, home improvement, and property services are major drivers of employment and wealth creation. In emerging economies like Nigeria, housing contributes about 3.1% of GDP, though with vast untapped potential. Its influence cuts across financial markets, labor absorption, raw material demand, and energy consumption patterns. One of the clearest pathways through which housing drives growth is job creation. Development requires diverse skilled and unskilled labor, from architects and engineers to masons, electricians, and artisans. The construction phase alone is labor-intensive and generates immediate employment. Beyond that, housing stimulates growth in allied sectors such as cement, steel, timber, and glass. Industries producing furniture, interior decor, and home appliances thrive as household spending increases, while financial institutions expand their mortgage and insurance portfolios. The International Labour Organization, ILO, estimates that each housing unit constructed generates between 5 and 7 jobs, depending on project complexity. In countries grappling with high youth unemployment, this represents a powerful avenue for labor absorption and poverty reduction. Furthermore, housing facilitates wealth accumulation and capital formation. Unlike consumer goods that depreciate, housing retains or increases in value. For many households, home ownership is the foundation of financial security and upward mobility. Housing assets also serve as collateral for credit, driving entrepreneurship and industrial growth. However, In many developing nations, underdeveloped housing finance systems limit credit access, stifling broader economic potential. Expanding housing infrastructure can therefore deepen financial systems, democratize wealth, and strengthen the foundation for inclusive growth. As the United Nations projects that nearly 70% of the global population will live in urban areas by 2050, nations like Nigeria must treat housing as a strategic tool for urban renewal and sustainable development. Cities with adequate housing attract investment, foster innovation, and enhance livability, while poor housing conditions breed overcrowding, insecurity, and economic inefficiency. In essence, housing infrastructure is not merely about buildings, it's about building economies. I'm Moyosore Adibi, SOUQ News TV.
Welcome back to the World News. Now, Egypt signed 2 memorandum of understanding MOU with Syria to deepen energy cooperation, focusing on gas supplies for electricity generation and meeting the masses' petroleum product needs, Egypt's Petroleum Ministry said on Monday. Under the agreement, Syria would receive natural gas through regasification ships or existing gas transportation networks, though officials did not disclose volumes, timelines, or pricing. The arrangements are intended to stabilize power generation in Syria, which has struggled with chronic fuel shortages and damaged infrastructure after years of conflict and sanction. Egypt has positioned itself as a regional energy hub, leveraging liquefied natural gas import capacity, regasification infrastructure, and pipeline connectivity to support the neighbors facing supply constraints. The MOU underscores Cairo's expanding energy diplomacy in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Levant, while offering Syria a potential lifeline for electricity and refined products. Further technical discussions are expected to determine delivery mechanisms and approvals in the coming months between both governments formally. China and South Korea have agreed to conduct cultural exchanges in an orderly manner, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said Tuesday, following a summit between Chinese President Xi Jinping and South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung in Beijing on Monday. The talks aimed at restoring bilateral ties saw both leaders emphasize the importance of expanding people-to-people connections alongside economic strategic cooperation. Officials highlighted cultural exchanges as a key tool to strengthen mutual understanding and promote regional stability without specifying sectors or timelines. The agreement comes amid heightened regional tensions with Japan and Taiwan as Beijing seeks to bolster partnerships with neighboring capitals. Analysts say structured cultural initiatives could complement broader diplomatic and trade engagement, allowing Seoul and Beijing to rebuild trust and foster collaborations while maintaining a measured and coordinated approach to cultural export and exchanges. The Philippines Central Bank expects to maintain interest rates at current levels as inflation accelerated in December and economic growth likely slowed in 2025. Governor Felipe Mandela said Tuesday, consumer prices rose 1.8% year-on-year last month, the fastest pace in 9 months, driven largely by higher food and clothing costs. Inflation had increased 1.5% in November, indicating a modest but noticeable uptick in price pressure. The central bank's guidance suggests policymakers are balancing the need to support a slowing economy while keeping inflation in check. Analysts expect the bank to monitor trends in consumer prices and broader economic activity closely before making any adjustment to monetary policies in 2026. Now, Reliance Industry said on Tuesday it does not expect any Russian crude oil deliveries in January, a move that could reduce India's import from Moscow to multi-year lows. The announcement comes after U.S. President Donald Trump warned that Washington could raise import tariffs on India if New Delhi continued purchasing Russian oil, intensifying pressure on the South Asian nation amid the ongoing trade dispute. Reliance, which operates the world's largest refinery complex and was India's biggest buyer of Russian crude in 2025, did not provide details on alternative sourcing plans, but indicated the move aligns with global compliance expectations and potential tariff risk. Now, former Bank of Japan Deputy Governor Masazumi Wakatabe has called for policy measures to anchor long-term inflation expectations around 2%, according to minutes of a Government Economic Council meeting released on Tuesday. Wakatabe, now a member of key government advisory panel, noted at December 25 meeting that inflation is expected to moderate in 2026 as cost push pressures ease, while should allow real wages to turn positive. He says stabilizing inflation expectations is critical to supporting household purchasing power and guiding monetary policies, emphasizing the proactive measures now could prevent prolonged deflationary pressures while fostering sustainable economic growth. Chinese toy maker Pop Mart has broadened its manufacturing footprint to Mexico, Cambodia, and Indonesia to meet growing global demands, the company said on Tuesday. The move comes as Pop Mart's designer toys, including its popular Labubu doll, continue to attract international collectors and boost sales worldwide. Pop Mart does not operate its own factories but works with local manufacturing partners. The company said the expanded partner-led network will enhance production capacity and improve global access to its product. Officials did not disclose specific production timelines for the new facility, but said the expansion is intended to streamline supply chains and meet surging consumer demand efficiently. The strategy reflects Pop Mart's focus on strengthening its international presence while managing cost and maintaining product quality. Analysts said the move could position the company more competitively in the growing collectible toy market. Still to come in the news, Colombia said on Monday it will maintain close cooperation with the United States to combat drug trafficking, leveraging U.S. intelligence and technology. We're bringing more of this after this break. Stay tuned.
Trafalgar Square, established in 1844, is a symbol of British naval history and a popular cultural spot in London. Named after the 1805 Battle of Trafalgar, it has been the site of celebrations, protests, and cultural events, representing the changing identity of the city. It houses several landmarks, like the Nelson Column, St. Martin in the Fields Church, and the National Gallery. The Nelson's Column, a tribute to a naval hero, is the main feature of Trafalgar Square. Standing 52 meters tall, completed in 1843, it honors Admiral Horatio Nelson's victory at Trafalgar. The column is topped with a statue of Nelson, and 4 bronze panels at its base show scenes from his battles. Surrounding it are 4 large bronze lions added in 1867, symbolizing British power.
Iconic part of British culture, not just in its look, but this is very much the sort of centre of London. You know, whenever there's a celebration, a protest, it's a public space that's very important for a lot of not just people that live in London, but for the UK. You know, it's a place where people would congregate. You know, I remember being here all around the 25 Olympics, but it was very much one of the centerpieces of British iconic culture. Yeah, no, you used to be able to climb on the lions when I was younger, but you can't do anymore. So there you go. That's progress for you.
St. Martin's in the Fields Church, reputed as an architectural gem, was built between 1722 and 1726. It is known for its neoclassical design by architect James Gibbs and is famous for its portico and steeple and has influenced architecture worldwide. The church also a rich musical history, hosting concerts and helping the homeless.
Yeah, I actually came to London just on a little day trip, and then I remembered that this church sometimes has classical music on, so I just popped in, and there's no concert, but there were some people practicing. So there's a quartet of violins, and they made some lovely, sort of practice for some classical concerts. So I really enjoyed just sitting there for 10 minutes, listening to it. It's lovely, it's a really nice church, and it's nice that people don't use it much time. So maybe we should have a nice coffee as well.
The National Gallery, founded in 1824, is a treasure trove of art. Located on the north side of Trafalgar Square, it houses over 2,300 artworks from the 13th to 20th century with free public access to masterpieces from major European artists.
I'm not really sure. I haven't been through the museum yet, but I'm here for a Christian heritage tour to kind of learn more about the history of the Protestant Reformation in England and Christian history here in England through the paintings that are in the gallery. So that's what I'm here for today.
Trafalgar Square blends Britain's naval history with modern art and culture. It remains an important public space, attracting millions of visitors each year to experience London's rich heritage and vibrant atmosphere. Chike Okolo, reporting for SOUQ News.
Welcome back to the World News. Toppled Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro appeared in a Manhattan federal court on Monday and pleaded not guilty to narcotics trafficking charges following his dramatic capture by U.S. forces over the weekend. The high-profile arrest sent shockwaves through Caracas and the rattled global leaders, leaving Venezuelan officials racing to regroup. 63-year-old Maduro said in quote, "I am innocent, I am not guilty, I am a decent man. I am still the president of my country," he declared through an interpreter before being interrupted by U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein. The statement underscored Maduro's insistence on his innocence and his defiance amid mounting legal and diplomatic pressure. The proceedings marks a significant escalation in U.S.-Venezuelan tensions with potential repercussions for regional stability and international relations. Observers say the case could set a precedent for U.S. action against foreign leaders accused of criminal activity, heightening uncertainty in Latin American politics. Ireland's Prime Minister Michael Martin is set to hold an in-depth trade discussion with Chinese Premier Li Qiang on Tuesday, seeking to deepen economic ties with China amid a period of strained China-EU relations. The talks are part of Martin's 5-day visit to Beijing, which the Irish leader described as having a significant economic dimension. Martin's discussion will focus on key trade issues, including Irish beef exports and China's recently imposed dairy tariffs. Now, the engagement follows Monday's summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where broader bilateral and multilateral trade topics were addressed. Officials said the meeting aims to secure better market access for Irish products and foster long-term economic cooperation between Ireland and China. Analysts note the island is leveraging direct dialogue to navigate tensions between the EU and China, seeking to protect export interests while balancing strategic diplomatic relations in a challenging geopolitical climate. Colombia said on Monday it will maintain close cooperation with the United States to combat drug trafficking, leveraging U.S. intelligence and technology. The announcement comes amid heightened regional scrutiny over illicit drugs flows and growing pressure on Latin American governments to curb narcotics production. Interior Minister Manuel Benedetti said in a video statement shared alongside Justice Minister Andres Idaraga, the Colombian government has let the U.S. government know that we are going to keep coordinating and cooperating in the fight against drug trafficking. The remarks underscored Bogota's commitment to joint operations and intelligence sharing, signaling continuity in bilateral anti-drug efforts despite political shifts in the region. Observers note that the collaboration strengthens Colombia's capacity to disrupt trafficking networks while aligning with U.S. priorities in the hemisphere. Analysts say sustained cooperation could also affect broader security and diplomatic ties in Latin America. Greenland's Prime Minister Jean-Frederick Nielsen on Monday sought to calm fears over U.S. intentions towards Arctic territory, emphasizing that Greenland is looking to strengthen ties with Washington without compromising its sovereignty. The reassurance comes amid renewed American interest in the island following strategic geopolitical developments in the region. Nielsen stressed that Greenlanders should not fear an imminent American takeover, highlighting the autonomous Danish territory's continued self-governance. Now, he noted that partnerships with the United States would focus on economic development, scientific research, and security collaboration rather than control or occupation. European powers voiced support for Greenland on Monday, particularly after United States military operation in Venezuela, which heightened regional sensitivities about possible foreign intervention. Analysts say Greenland's diplomatic balancing act seeks to maintain stronger ties with the United States while safeguarding its political autonomy and Arctic interest. Germany's service sector maintained growth in December, though expansion softened for the second month in a row as new business gains slowed, a survey revealed on Tuesday. Now, the final HCOB Germany services PMI came at 52.7, slightly above the preliminary reading of 52.6, but down from November's 53.1. Now, despite the moderation, the figure remains above 50.0 threshold that separates growth from contraction, indicating continued sectorial expansion. Analysts attribute the slowdown to subdued client demand and lingering uncertainty in business sentiment amid a challenging economic environment. Companies in Germany's service industry reported moderate increases in output and in employment, with growth concentrated in it. Now, finance and professional service. While new orders softened, service providers expressed cautious optimism for early 2026, expecting improved business activities as economic conditions stabilize. And in sport news, Nigeria cruised into the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals with a commanding 40-0 win over Mozambique in Monday's round of 16, powered by a dazzling Ademola Lookman display and a Victor Osimhen brace. Lookman set the tone early, opening the scoring before orchestrating Nigeria's attack with 3 assists that repeatedly exposed Mozambique's defense. Osimhen struck twice with clinical finishes, underlining his importance to the Super Eagles, while Akko Adams added the 4th to cap a dominant night. Now, the Super Eagles controlled possession, pressed aggressively, and limited Mozambique to clear chances, now extending Nigeria's unbeaten record against Mambas. The victory secures Nigeria's 12th quarter-final appearance, reinforcing their status as title contenders. They will now face either Algeria or Democratic Republic of Congo, with confidence high after one of their most complete performances of the tournament so far. The result strengthens belief at home and sharpens focus ahead of the test. Still in sport, Liam Rosner confirmed on Tuesday that he has verbally agreed to become the next manager of Premier League club Chelsea, describing the opportunity as one I cannot turn down. Now, the 41-year-old Englishman made the announcement during a press conference at his current club, League One side Strasbourg. Rosenhill has been the leading candidate to succeed Enzo Maresca, who was sacked on last Thursday, largely due to his connections with Bluesco. Now, the consortium that owns both Strasbourg and Chelsea, despite being relatively unknown in top-flight management, his appointment is seen as a strategic move by the club owners to install a trusted figure. Now, the former England international acknowledged the challenge ahead, saying he is eager to embrace Chelsea's demands and ambitions. Fans and analysts have expressed mixed reactions, noting that Rosenhill's lack of Premier League managerial experience could test his readiness for the role. Now, before we go, let's go over the headlines once again. The central bank realized 15.2 trillion naira from bi-weekly treasury bill sales conducted through primary market auctions in 2025. Aidman admonishes petrol dealers receiving direct supplies from the Dangote refinery to sell fuel at 739 naira per litre. Egypt and Syria signs memorandum of understanding, deepens energy cooperation and gas supplies for electricity generation. Tumbled Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro appears in Manhattan federal court, pleaded not guilty to narcotics trafficking. And in sport, Nigeria cruised into the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals with a commanding 14-0 win over Mozambique. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Drop makes a hole in a stone, not by force, but by consistent dripping. Nothing describes this woman more apt than her indomitable and consistent drive for excellence. Born Bilikisu Abiodun Moturayo Omobalanle Adekola on December 24, 1962, into the family of Alhaji Abdulmoshood Adekola, the first grandson of the first Alhaji in the city of Ibadan, and a Cameroonian mother, Mrs. Hannah Aduke Adekola, in the ancient city of Ibadan, Oyo State. While her mother was still pregnant with her, left for England to further his education. And while she was pretty much young, her mother left the country to go join her husband, to return while she was 8 years. Meanwhile, she was left to be cared for by her grandmother. She was registered in a private boarding primary school at the age of 4.
My parents had me. My father went off to England to go to school before I was born. He left my mother pregnant with me. My mother had me, and before I was a year old, left to join her husband in England, and I was left with my grandmother. I grew up with my grandmother before my parents came back like 8 years after. Spent my first, from about age 4 or 5, I was sent into a boarding nursery school. I lived in boarding school at a very early age because my parents wanted to protect me from becoming a local Ibadan girl.
And she usually attributes these to her early independence and wisdom. Omo Agbanimi, some of her friends sometimes poke fun at her wisdom, which is way beyond her age.
I was raised by my grandmother, so I'm a bit of an old woman in my brain, in how I think, as my friends say.
Her foray into business started at a very young age at her grandmother's shop where she sells salt. Little did she know that this was going to stand her in good stead in life.
My first exposure to business was my grandmother's little shop where she sold salt. And I used to love to sit behind her little kiosk and help her to sell the salt. But who knew I was being trained for business in my future?
While at secondary school, she participated in the literary debating group, excelling in it, which made her consider a career in law, though that didn't last. Also, it is worthy of note that Ibukun Awoshika could hold her own in athletics, earning her the nickname Rabbit because she could really run.
As an athlete, if you want to run, and I used to be fast, they used to call me the Rabbit.
Unsure of what career path she was going to settle for, she considered becoming many things at one point or the other of her life. After secondary school, she thought of becoming a medical doctor, but she couldn't stand the sight of a cadaver, so she let go of that idea. Later on, architecture was another fancy that caught her attention. Similarly, she also considered becoming a chartered accountant, finally only see she could work in a bank.
I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Then I found out that they work with real dead bodies. I changed my mind very quickly. I then thought, you know what, I'd like to be an architect. I was good in sciences and had a problem if parents sentence you to science when you're good at both. So I ended up in Ife to study chemistry. By the end of my first year, I realized how much I hated chemistry. I could pass it, but I didn't love it. So then I thought, you know, I'd make a good lawyer. I debated throughout school. I used to represent my school in school's debate. So everybody knows that I can win an argument. So I gave it everything trying to change to law. I used to go and sit outside the door of the dean of law. And then one day the man said, come, what do you want? I want to change to law. Is that why you've been sitting outside of my office? Yes, sir. Okay, if I only take one person from another department next year, it will be you.
After the completion of her undergraduate degree at the University of Ife, she went for the compulsory one-year National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, in Kano State, where she worked as an audit trainee at Akintola Williamson Co., which later became Deloitte.
For youth service, I did everything to make sure they sent me to an accounting firm. They first sent me to a Muslim school to go and teach. That was easy to solve. I just wore a dress off my shoulder. I went to report. I was immediately rejected. Once they rejected me, I went back to the posting room and waited there for days until they sent me to Akintola Williams & Co.
Although she was later given full employment after her service year, she felt becoming an accountant wasn't a thing.
You would have thought that having gone through all that trouble, accounting would be the love of my life. When I got there, within the 1 year of my youth service, I realized how boring accounting is to me. Because they had all the processes somebody else had thought about before. All I had to do was open old dusty files from company to company without imagination or initiative. I'm a very restless human being. That was not going to work. So I finished the work. I did well. They offered me permanent employment, but I said, thank you, but no thank you. Why? Because at that moment, I had come to a realization that that was not the vision for my life.
After returning home, she joined Alibert Nigeria Limited, a furniture company, as showroom manager. In a word, only to kill time. She only stayed for 3.5 months. She left to begin a furniture manufacturing company called Quibis Limited in 1989, just months before her 26th birthday. The company later grew into SOUQ Chair Center Limited, following a venture merger with SOUQ SA and Guarantee Trust back in 2004.
But the first job I could find 1 week after was in a furniture company. So I went there to kill time. My kill time project has resulted in 30 years of investment of my life in building a manufacturing group in furniture. So it was never the plan of my life. So some of you will accidentally find your purpose.
One could only wonder what had led her not only to compete, but to thrive in a male-dominated terrain. With over 30 years in business, Ibukun Awoshika is a woman to reckon with, encouraging more women to participate in the business terrain. Her passion to see the girl child not just to be educated, but much more to learn to own our own value and trade with it when there is need for it. Her lifelong ambition is to see herself die empty.
My biggest ambition in life is to die empty. Totally empty. That no talents, no giftings, no opportunities, nothing that I was born to do, that I have the capacity to do, that I do not do.
Following her remarkable achievements, she's been conferred with different doctorates, including one in business, entrepreneurship and human capacity development from the Lagos State University, Ojo. Similarly, she was given a honorary doctorate of business administration from the Obafemi Awolowo University and another from the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, Ogun State. Apart from our entrepreneurial prowess, Ibukun Awoshika is an ordained minister of the gospel, a presenter, writer, and a TV host.
The Bible tells us that let every man be what? A liar. And let who alone be true? Let God alone be true.
She hosts a television program called Business His Way. Also, she acted in the 2020 Kunle Afolayan movie titled Citation, which in addition to the books she had written, including Business His Way, The Girl Entrepreneur, The Girls in the Boardroom, and My Thoughts in Codes. In 2004, she earned a certification in Business Administration and Management from the IESE Business School. She's also the chairperson of the Novel Nigeria Office for Philanthropy and Impact Investment. She has consistently encouraged women to take up more leadership positions without compromising their values and integrity. In 2005, she was appointed the MD CEO of SOUQ SA of France, GTB PLC, the Chair Center Limited, and some local investors after the ban of the importation of furniture by the federal government of Nigeria in 2004. Furthermore, it is noteworthy to note that she independently established another ultra-modern furniture facility, Furniture Manufacturers Mart in Ikeja, Lagos. In 2008, she was among 5 Nigerian entrepreneurs who appeared in the first African version of The Dragon's Den. Unlike a great deal of others who knew exactly what they wanted to do from the beginning, she admitted to accidentally finding purpose. Ibukun Awoshika is a member of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, a member of the board of Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund, a former chairperson of the Board of Trustees of Women in Management, Business and Public Service, and a member of the IESC's International Advisory Board. Furthermore, she sits on the board of Digital Jura Limited and Cabri Nigeria PLC. Additionally, she's a fellow of the African Leadership Initiative and Aspen Global Leadership Network. History was made on the 7th day of September 2015. Following the resignation of Prince Ajibola Afonja, she became the first female chair of the First Bank of Nigeria in its 126 years of existence. Ibukun Awosika's Octo-Nigerian father, Abdul Moshood Adekola, who was a great influence in her life, passed on the 20th April 2020 after serving the Lord as an usher at the Fountain of Life Church in Ilupeju. He was a Muslim convert. He was converted few days before his 60th birthday. She got married on her 28th birthday to Abiodun Awosika, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Excel Exploration and Production Company Limited, and they are blessed with 3 fine young men, Oludola, Olufishika, and Olamiposi. To celebrate a life of impact at 60, friends and mentees surprised Awoshika by building the Ibukun Awoshika Sports Center at our beloved secondary school, Methodist Girls High School, Yaba, Lagos. This project took about 6 months to complete and had some of our mentees like Tara Durutoye, Ndidi Okuanu, Chichi Nwoko, and Bisola Runsewe. They marshaled it alongside a team of other successful people. She stands like Joshua upon the pinnacle of the Horeb, looking to command an army of a new generation of women entrepreneurs that wouldn't stop at anything to achieving their God-given dreams. For her, she believes that regardless of how illustrious her career is and how successful she could ever get in life, her family and husband remain the most important gift in her life. Ibukun Awoshika.
The bank was totally gone, so there was nothing to say they had. But we still approached them and said we would like to take over this bank. The journey since 1997 has been one thing or the other, and I'm happy that many years down the line we look back and we're happy that we're audacious and bold to make them move at the time. That's why today in UBA, perseverance, resilience is a core virtue, a core attribute, a core value of ours, because we apply that early on in this journey. So that's how it all started.
Leadership, according to some Peters, entails vision, enthusiasm, trust, verve, passion, and consistency. If there's one man who graciously combines these virtues, the name Tony Elumelu comes to mind.
They say that success to a large extent is dependent on being at the right place at the right time.
say to people, my elder brother, who is 7 years older than me, he doesn't have gray hair. I have gray hair. My gray hair started from the merger because making it work, serving your customers, making sure that everyone in the universe or the institution, which was we have 428 branches at the time, that it was same level of service across board. Customers of standard trust bank that were used to a certain level of service delivery, you will not want them to come to the new institution and have a drop.
From the womb of time, Tony Elumelu has been an embodiment of nobility and excellence. He remains one of the flying eagles and shining heads of the banking industry. The life and times of Tony is an inspiring tale. He is one Nigeria who is unmoved by material wealth and self-aggrandizement. Tony's noble qualities were on from his humble background. Growing up with 4 siblings in Jos Plateau State, the cowboy of the banking industry who hails from Anocha North local government area of Delta State, believed in the democratization of law combined with hard work. He began his career as a copier salesman. The Ambrose Ali University graduate of economics also bagged a master's degree in economics from the University of Lagos. In 2019, he received an honorary Doctor of Business degree from Bayero University, Kano.
Going to university, I just thought I wanted to be a businessman because my mom's brother, my mom and his brother were just 2 of them. So my uncle was a businessman, in Nigeria, and was quite successful at the time. And I was influenced. I thought he was very rich, and also I wanted to be a businessman, but not knowing whether just a businessman, you know what I mean? Because he was described then as a businessman. And but in the university, that was why I read economics, just to see. But in university, I got more enlightened because I knew more how things operated. And first degree, I was saying I just wanted a good job that would give me the start. But when I came to do my master's at Unilag, being in urban or Unilag, a lot happening at the time. And that was the era of new generation banks, a lot happening. Our friends, in banking, our friends, some got jobs in some banks. And so that's all of us who were doing masters at the time. I did masters in economics. Who were doing masters at the time, we just became interested and fascinated. We were interested in working in a bank. New generation bank, not old generation bank, not. And so that was how it all started. And we started applying for jobs in our banks. And I got, yes, at the master's level, it was clear I wanted to work in a bank. And yes, that was started. As in then, Santana was a posh guy. So they oppressed us in school, I must say. And then we too wanted to become the big boys in future with the blue shoes, suspenders, white shirt, dark suits, etc.
The growth and development of any institution is determined by the quality of its leadership. For Tony Elumelu, his sterling performance and leadership scorecard in the banking industry remains a reference point. He rose quickly to become the youngest bank branch manager at Allstate Trust Bank at the age of 36. He formed a coalition to acquire a distressed financial institution, Crystal Bank, and became its CEO, an action that earned him and his circle of peers the nickname the Cowboys of Banking.
In 1997, some of us came together and acquired the distressed financial institution. We acquired the distressed financial institution, we turned it around, we set targets for ourselves, strategic plans. Targets, we have first year strategic intent, we want to make it a viable financial services company. Second tier intent, we want to become a leading financial services group on the continent. And third financial intent, strategic intent, to become a player in the global financial arena.
As we all know, there's so much private global capital seeking the right investment destination. All it takes is for a leadership to show that this country is set for business and people come there. We want to move into an economy where they can invest freely as well as move their monies out when it comes for time for dividend and remittances and repatriation of a dividend. So I will continue to invest because of the signal that we see in the market, because of certain fundamentals that are right.
He audaciously led the largest merger in Africa between United Bank of Africa and Standard Trust Bank. Tony's fancy for red tie remains emblem of his appearance. He retired as CEO of United Bank for Africa in 2010. He is presently the chairman of Heirs Holdings, the United Bank for Africa, Transcorp, and founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation.
I can't express how excited I am in words to be here and to be selected among the 1,000.
It's the opportunity for me to realize my dreams. So I go into business and start to make my way.
It challenges you to do things you never thought you could do.
Maybe if you'd have gone to a private school or an MBA, you must have paid a lot to get this kind of, enlightenment.
Ça me fait plaisir de voir des frères et sœurs qui veulent se rencontrer, se connaître, les partager et créer un réseau, peut-être le plus grand réseau africain.
Vengo de Cabo Verde.
Je suis tunisien.
Je viens de la République du Bénin.
I'm from Edo State, Nigeria.
I'm from Ghana.
Zimbabwe.
Sudan.
From Rwanda.
Gabon. Uganda. Senegal.
Egypt. I'm from the Gambia.
Welcome and thank you for coming to Lagos. I'd like to start by congratulating all of you. You have done well.
Most entrepreneurs are creative people. They have creative mindset. They're innovative. Those who dare to dream and who dare to innovate. In Africa, should have the opportunity to prove their innovation. And that is why we have $10,000 for these 10,000 Africans to help prove their concept and prepare them for bigger scale financial support. We don't give because we see it as a moral burden to just give charity. But we want to give people because we want to uplift them. We want them to be self-reliant. We want them to be fishermen. We want them to do what we are doing. We want them to prosper in life, become successful.
Tony made a tremendous contribution to giving back to the society. His selfless efforts and huge investment into humanity through the Tony Elumelu Foundation is widely admired as the leading philanthropy empowering a new generation of African entrepreneurs, driving poverty eradication, catalyzing job creation across all 54 African countries, and increasing women economic empowerment. Since the launch of the entrepreneurship program in 2015, the foundation has trained over 1.5 million young Africans on its digital hub. Tony, the Nigerian economist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, holds the Nigerian National Honors, the Commander of the Order of Nigeria, CON, a member of the Order of the Federal Republic, MFR. He has been responsible for creating business that are critical to Africa's economic development. He is a proponent of Africa capitalism, an economic philosophy which advocates for the private sector's commitment to Africa's development through long-term investment in strategic sectors of the economy that drive economic prosperity and social wealth award. He was awarded the Daily Times the Nigerian Man of the Year in 2016. He was honored with the National Productivity Order of Merit Award in 2019. He is also on the list of Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People of 2020. On October 11, 2022, Elumelu received the National Honor of Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Tony, as a staunch professional and chairman of Foremost Bank, may understandably runs a busy daily schedule like that of a bee, but he balances the equation with creating time for sports. His love for lawn tennis and football stands undeniable.
My good workout memories, I think I would say that
I like to jog on the spot. I love yoga, as you said.
Yeah.
But these days I'm trying to get in the group of planting.
Tony is not just a champion in the backyard. He equally balances the equation when it comes to family life.
For me, as a family man, though, I try to make sure I balance things. I try to make sure my family side did not survive. In that process, I was also growing a family, having my kids and co. So, but everything came together.
Tony is happily married to Awele.